Coming out for any LGBT plus person is a big deal and commitment. 28% of all LGBT high school students are forced to drop out due to peer harassment, and LGBT plus person account for 30% of all suicides. Although there are many people who have been accepted for their sexuality by those around them, especially within the 21st century where gay marriage has been legalised in most Western countries, we're going to see some of the brave people who have chosen to come out. Joanne Oliver has known she was interested in women romantically since she was 14. However, she put it down to bisexuality until she was 17 and realised she was a lesbian.
I came out to my friends. I just did it quite casually. It wasn't like a sit down and have something to tell you. It was just kind of a, oh yeah, by the way, this is a thing. Like in coming out to my parents, I haven't told my mum because she was brought up like really quite religiously. And so even she like kind of says that she's okay with that sort of thing, but I feel like it might be a different story if it was actually something that affected her or she perceived to affect her. But my dad and my stepmom kind of just knew, didn't really tell them, it's kind of confirmed. But they were like, oh yeah, no, we always knew. And I knew they'd be okay with it, so I didn't really feel the need to tell them. Oh, my sister, kind of the same as my mum, not like as religious, but like she kind of had the same ideas as my mum. So it's just kind of like, and like if I did tell her and not my mum, she would absolutely tell my mum. So it's just kind of like a, you don't really need to know. So no, I haven't really faced adversity. People were pretty cool about it actually, so I was quite lucky. If I ever did, it wasn't anything that like really affected me or bothered me much. It would have been people I didn't really care about or something like that.
Dean Taylor is the editor of the LGBT section of East Side magazine.
I first sort of thought I was gay. I've always sort of known. When I was younger, like I used to dress up in my sister's clothes, which is sort of like, I think, the main thing that sort of like made me realise. And then through high school, it was sort of like coming to accept it, because I always got bullied for being gay in high school. Like I never realised it myself properly until I got to college. I became comfortable with who I was, and I came out to people. And then I did actually come out properly, to be honest. It was all my friends first. I told them when I was about 16. Didn't actually come out to my family until like this year or last year when I moved away. I didn't actually come out to my dad. He was all like pushing me out the closet a bit. He was like asking me why I was going to gay clubs. I told him I'd ring him and he asked me if I was gay and that he wouldn't have to pay for a wedding, so it wasn't too bad. Since I've become the editor of the LGBT part of Birmingham East Side, I've not really noticed anything about coming out at the moment. I mean, there was National Coming Out Day, which I was going to cover, but I didn't get around to doing it. But most stories seem to be quite just, they come out, everyone accepts them at the moment, but there are a few that stand out where people are disowned, and I do want to start focusing on them sort of stories more. I've not noticed many people coming out really, because I'm in the gay scene, so everyone's just there. I don't really notice people that I knew because there's just too many people. So I think if I went back home though, it's a countryside, so it might be more accepted there now, which is why it was difficult for me. Moving to a city was just so much easier, because there was a gay community. I feel like Birmingham East Side sort of makes people feel like it's okay to be gay. It's not. We're in the 21st century now. It's not illegal. Everything's become accepted. You can get married now if you're gay. So I think my job is to make other people feel comfortable with who they are, which is what I struggled with for a while. I work in a gay bar. Like if I'm outside, I've had like a fag. Like people drive past and shout like "bye boy" or "gay boy" at me all the time. Yeah. Like I've got some sort of become like desensitised to it now. But I think new people that are on the scene, if they get that, they're getting homophobic abuse on the gay scene as well as off it. So it can be hard, I think, for people. Yeah, I have. Nothing like physical. It's more just verbal. I just brush it off. It doesn't bother me. I know I'm gay. It's like me shouting straight at someone. It's their sexuality. I don't understand why it's offensive. I think once you learn to accept who you are, sexuality isn't something that defines you, it's just something you are.
Amy Slater is pansexual, meaning attraction is not limited to a single gender of sex. She spoke to us about her experiences coming out and coming to terms with her sexuality.
I kind of realised that I wasn't maybe bisexual because I wasn't maybe towards just sort of men and women. I was just sort of quite open to whatever. I think that I just sort of don't even know. When I was thinking about it when I was younger, I didn't really have any opinions towards anyone, I guess, sexually. And then I met my now girlfriend a couple of years ago. I told my mum first, and I said, "Mum, I've got a girlfriend." I didn't really go into a lot of detail about what sexuality I had or anything, so I suppose I don't really care as much as to try and put names or labels to certain things, but I think pansexual would be the most accurate to describe me. No, not really. It's a bit like when you have a stranger tell you that they don't agree with how you are or what you say. You could just sort of tell them to get lost, really. I know in a way when you're in the work environment, usually, I may just keep it to myself because actually it doesn't really have anything to do with them, in my opinion. Also, I don't want, because a lot of people will have prejudices about that sort of thing, especially if you say something like pansexual rather than maybe the other more well-known sexualities. I'd say I usually just keep it sort of to myself, and if someone asks, I'll say I have a girlfriend, but otherwise, yeah, unless they're really interested, I'm probably just not going to go into it detail-wise. I kind of liked my girlfriend for who she is. Obviously, like, it helps because she's physically attractive as well, but it's more about her as a person. So if she was a guy, or if she was transgender, or, you know, any of the other genders that people identify with, I probably wouldn't mind. It's all good. It's basically the line I use for everything. I can only think of one time when we were just holding hands walking down the street. We're not really like into like lots of like public display of affection. Yeah, PDA. Yeah, we don't do that as much, like, or really obviously. But someone was sort of like, "Oh, fucking lesbo, a faggot," sort of thing. I was like, so, you know, it's not really an issue for me. But I think possibly with women, it doesn't. People don't appear to mind as much, maybe, if they're against that sort of thing than if they see two men together for whatever kind of relationships or sexuality they have.
Jo lives partially in Birmingham, studying media and communications, and has newly moved into a house in Cheltenham with her mother and older sister. Dean is still the LGBT editor of Eastside magazine and continues to help acceptance and awareness for the LGBT community. Amy is looking to move into a house in Selly Oak next year with her girlfriend Clara, along with other friends, finishing their final year at uni studying illustration.